Da-da-da. Hey, what's going on, Masters of Business? This is your girl, August Crenshaw. I feel really fantastic, okay? Have been having a very beautiful day. I'm coming in here to share a thought and get some feedback and give a nugget. Let me just, I was going to put it, I'll edit it later. But first, before I do that, first of all, let me just say this. I'm super duper excited because for those of you who may not have heard yet, Brother Bedford said that, guess what? George Fraser is talking about coming into the group as a moderator. So that's going to be like totally freaking awesome. I ain't going to lie, y'all. That does have me a little bit nervous because he the kind of person is, I love the truth. Okay. But I can see, oh, yeah, you got it going on, girl. But you real rough around the edges. So let me tell you how you get your shit together. I'm just saying, but that's the beauty. I want that though. I want to be in a space where I feel very comfortable and free being myself, but that I can also give real and open critique that's going to make me a better person. But a controversial topic came up in my mind, for me, and I'll morph. Forgive me if I'm, a little out of order or outdated or on the wrong tangent for some of the members in the group. They're like, what in the world is the girl talking about? We don't care about that stuff. I don't know. But I'm just expressing what's on my mind. Brother Bedford wants this to be a place where, the great minds meet. But if the only thing we doing is just listening to everything he's putting in here and we not talking, then what do we know about the great minds that we have? So while I am simultaneously sucking up everything that he's putting in here, I also want to engage in dialogue because that's how we begin to know the heart of the people that are here. And this is how we begin to see where we're of like minds. This is where collaborations will be built and so on and so forth. And so, anyway, outside of what Brother Bedford does, I'm just in this space right now where I feel like God has said to me, sit your tail down and soak up as much wisdom as you can, August. And so I spend a lot of hours now just listening to other people, reading and doing stuff like that. And so I was listening to Dr. Miles Monroe, and when he was talking about the characteristics of a leader, one of the things that he said that I love was that a leader is someone who has a really big vision. Their head is in the clouds, but their feet are still on the ground because they have compassion for the people. And so basically you should be ahead of the people but never be out of sight. Now, for me, one of the first controversies that came up when I thought about this had to do with price. Because one of the things that I know in my industry, since I'm in coaching, is you keep hearing people say over and over again, high ticket this, high ticket that, you got to get to your money. And matter of fact, I seen a post in another group that I'm in, and a person was like, well, which one is easier to sell? This product that's $3,000 or sells six people a $500 product? And so from my standpoint, sales is sales. And I don't care whether you're selling a knife set or you're selling a car, it boils down to two things. Can I connect with you and can I show you that I got you? And if that's the case and you got the money, then we can roll and we can make it happen. And so I like to be very careful, and I become more and more conscious every day about what it is that I'm saying. And what I don't like to say is things like that, because I do know that there was a point in my business where there were things I was selling for $100 that now you can't get for less than $600. But when it was $100, I stood on that and I sold it at that because that's what it was. If you got the right product, you got the right price, and you talking to the right people, I don't care if it's $100 or $100,000. In my mind and what I see in my life and my client's life is that you're going to get paid regardless. And so for me, I'm just wondering how many of us have been creating products and services, and we have this big vision, but the vision has become crowded with big money, because you're working so hard to build your empire that you don't realize that your pockets is actually influencing your price point. It's influencing what you will actually sell stuff for. And so for me, one of the wars that I had to wrestle with was coaching women who would empty out their bank accounts or rack up their credit cards to work with me, but understanding this: you cannot defy the law of gravity. You cannot defy the laws of success. As far as you could, you guys know what I mean with defying. They're absolutes. At the end of the day, what goes up must come down. And at the end of the day, you got to take the stairs. You can't take the escalator. There's no way to cheat success. You know what I'm saying? And so if that's the case, if I get a woman to give me an exorbitant amount of money and she's still going to have to apply those things. The question is, if it's going to take her time to get there, maybe I don't charge her as big of an amount. I charge her an incremental amount over a more stretched out period of time, because it's going to take that long for her to get that level of success anyway. And as she's growing and building, she's beginning to recoup the cost that she's invested, instead of turning people's dream into a get rich quick scheme that is often, that I've seen with a lot of business owners, that it ends up being a well that runs dry, and you have to keep up with this lifestyle that you've created, especially if you haven't cultivated relationships. And so for me, I'm always wanting to know, why are you doing what you're doing? What's the passion behind it, and what's the root of it? Because if you have this thing where you feel, me personally, I have more of a Harriet soul. I can see the level of freedom of life and independence of thought that has come with me being an entrepreneur, and I don't want to let it go. And I want more of us to see it and to feel it. And so when I look at the people that she saved, she wasn't playing around. She wasn't jeffing. You was like, nope. She might have cried and was kind of looking like, you, sis, you're not coming. Okay, well, fine. And you say you'll see crazy behind here. But everybody that went with Harriet, they weren't all people that were gun ho, like, yep, I want to be free. Some of them were nervous and scared as hell, but they still went. They had a common desire, but all of them didn't have the same level of faith. And so as a leader for a season and for a period of time, you are provoking and you are carrying people for a second. You're holding that little bit of faith that they've got. And so for me, some of the people that I'm working with and I'm holding, they've come from very crippled situations. They're single parents with multiple children. There are people that have lived the majority of their life building up a bunch of debt. And the last thing that I want to do is, on the journey of helping them understand how to construct a better business, is to bankrupt them and cripple them even more. So when he said that, that's what that comment meant to me, that I've got this big old dream, but you know what? I don't feel like I need to have shame, because what a lot of people will say is, well, August, you really should be selling it for $3,000. If you're only selling it for $500 a pop, could you imagine how long it's going to take you, to make $1 million? And how do you know whether or not I even want to be a millionaire? But why do we keep emphasizing that one business model was right and the other business model was wrong? And how come so many of us get sucked up in it? Because you tell me, which one is better, to be Walmart or Nordstrom? I'm 75% off for your shirt at Nordstrom, still $170, $16.99 at Walmart. We all have a demographic. We all have people that we're meant to serve. And so some of us may have issues where we're not necessarily making it where we need to go into business, because we're planting seeds in the wrong soil. We're trying to do something that isn't even the vision that God has given us, and being patient. And so the last thing I'll say is this, because I was talking in another group, a lot of people will say, I would rather just have that one big package and sell to somebody. Well, if I'm looking at somebody that's a newer entrepreneur, and I think that this is important for us to all think about, because a lot of us are more successful than others, and we're working with people and we're building them up and getting them to a place. To me, emphasizing the fact that it is better to sell that one big old package of like 15, 20K to one person. But so many other factors go in. What's your reach like? How big is your audience? How well have you connected to them? What's the rapport and the trust like? Are people ready to buy? What if you so bent out of shape on making sure that you don't sell anything less than 15K, but it takes you 6 months to get there? And you got that one person that you got to keep on a loop. Well, I may be at the place where I'm just going to do 6 people at $500. And that means I got 6 more opportunities to sell something else to them. And because they're willing, because it's a lesser barrier of entry offer, to work with me, then that 3,000 may turn into people wanting to be one-to-one. And I may surpass that 15 grand, because I had to make sure that I did what was necessary to even make myself marketable in front of that person that needed that product. And so that's why I say, don't say it's harder or more difficult to sell at a specific price point, because at the end of the day, sales is sales. And so whether you selling the knives or you selling a card, the point is you need to master that skill, and people are either going to buy or they're not. But ultimately, I basically am just bringing up the whole conversation in the community about, what is that vision? What is your vision and what are you looking for? And how do you take that big, lofty idea that you have and condense it into a manner that you're still in touch with the people that you're created to serve? Because what I'm finding, or what I believe I see in the industry, is that people started with that model, but what you're creating as it's getting bigger and expanding, you're not retaining that model. And for me, it's to make sure that I always have that in what I do. So for me personally, you got a little bit more about me, a little bit more about the passion and what drives me. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from you guys and what drives you and what dictates how you move and what you charge and who you're working with. Because from my understanding, everybody in here is a leader. So that was my little 2 cents for today. Thank you guys again for having me here. I know eventually we're going to start talking more, and that's where relationships are created. So until later, I'm outie. Deuces.